Story 1. He has a large number of children with some unusual individuals and makes an effort to homeschool. He is not a good authority. Story 2. This man has all the money in the world to send his 10 or more children to the best global universities, participate in expensive extracurricular activities, hire private tutors and trainers, and ultimately bless them with more knowledge and accessibility than only a handful of people throughout human history have ever experienced. Yet, he brags about them learning from the echo chambers of social media. Yes, we can clearly tell. Story 3. That their dad is a person who doesn't spend time with them. I raised my 3 children. It's not easy, but they also don't only get to hear one voice, which is what most of these conservatives seem to want. My kids are not little carbon copies of me, and they wouldn't be under almost any circumstances. I'm upset that my kids learn things from people other than me, is the complaint of someone who feels powerless. If they were mostly educated by online platforms, where was your voice? Were you off making another child with one of your employees? Using substances during a popular podcast? In short, your kids were raised by online content based on the decisions you make. It's not society's fault that you are an inadequate father. Story 4. Precisely why we are in the situation we are in today. Sociopathic grifters are running amok in our government because every individual with an opinion is now a subject matter expert on everything, and you cannot clean up the mess because it is free speech. Story 5. That is so wild to me. YouTube can be a great resource. My daughter loves art and will spend hours following drawing tutorials. However, I only let her watch it in the living room on the television so I can monitor what she is doing because there is a lot of inappropriate content on YouTube, and she is definitely learning a lot more at school every day. Reddit. Story 6. But Elon, also known as Adrian Dittman, says he's the best father. I'm confused. Story 7. Elon bases his entire opinion on Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube. Let's be honest here. Everything he does, everything he says, comes from the algorithms. Story 8. I think he just said random things to appeal to the demographic that follows Reddit. His children were raised by caregivers and workers in the adult industry. Story 9. I think it is really important to note here that Elon admits that YouTube and Reddit have an extreme influence on young people, but he still denies the need for fact-checking and the removal of hate and disinformation. Story 10. How to not only be a complete burden on society, but also how to destroy it. Besides Donald Trump, there is no one else who I would rather have abducted by aliens never to return. Story 11. I am not going to speculate on what they learned, but I want to say, my goodness, what a terrible father he is. No wonder he carries one of them around as a shield. He displays psychopathic behavior. Story 12. I don't understand why people are so against working 80-hour weeks. Oh, I forgot to raise my kids. Story 13. I don't know what the question is, but the answer is either a disc for urination, liquid stool, divorce, a tool for cutting waste, or to have no contact. Story 14. I feel like YouTube and Google are the least evil of all the social media algorithms. However, if you go searching for it, you can definitely find toxic opinions on YouTube. But overall, YouTube is an awesome source for truly educational videos. If looking in good faith, you can learn to cook with YouTube, and that is the best part. Story 15. Between Donald and Elon, I'll bet the White House is buying toilet paper in bulk these days. Story 16. Bragging that your kids were educated by YouTube is a huge indicator of what a poor parent you really are. Story 17. A huge part of the problem is taking into consideration every single thing those billionaire individuals say. Opinion. It is documented that Elon Musk is an awful parent. Who cares what he has to say about the topic? Story 18. He is one of the richest men on earth. Is he still the richest? He still has no time to educate his children. No wonder there are so many iPad kids. Story 19. They probably picked up a mix of useful information and random trivia. YouTube and Reddit have tons of educational content, but also some questionable material, so it could be a bit all over the place. Story 20. Assuming that what that individual claimed is true, which I personally doubt for many reasons, just assuming it is for the sake of the question being asked, most likely nothing useful, and it is extremely likely they learned something that is blatantly false. Both sites are considerable in size. They are also both filled to the brim with individuals who somehow manage to get people to believe their misguided opinions just by virtue of sounding confident. Any child being influenced by them likely lacks the skill set or knowledge to actually go out and find something genuinely true and or useful to learn, so unless they also had someone actively curating their content for them, which even then comes with its own problems, I do not see any reasonably good outcome for anyone involved here. Story 21. When asked back in 2019 why the British do not like Donald Trump, Nate White wrote the following, which puts it perfectly in my opinion, although he is clearly even worse this time around. A few things spring to mind. Donald Trump lacks certain qualities which the British traditionally esteem. For instance, he has no class, no charm, no coolness, no credibility, no compassion, no wit, no warmth, no wisdom, no subtlety, no sensitivity, no self-awareness, no humility, no honor, and no grace. All qualities, funnily enough, with which his predecessor, Mr. Barack Obama, was generously blessed. So for us, the stark contrast does rather throw Donald Trump's limitations into embarrassingly sharp relief. Plus, we like a laugh. And while Donald Trump may be laughable, he has never once said anything wry, witty, or even faintly amusing, not once, ever. I do not say that rhetorically. I mean it quite literally. Not once, not ever. And that fact is particularly disturbing to the British sensibility. For us, to lack humor is almost inhuman. But with Donald Trump, it is a fact. He does not even seem to understand what a joke is. His idea of a joke is a crass comment, an illiterate insult, a casual act of cruelty. Donald Trump is a troll. And like all trolls, he is never funny, and he never laughs. He only crows or jeers. And scarily, he does not just talk in crude, witless insults. He actually thinks in them. His mind is a simple bot-like algorithm of petty prejudices and knee-jerk nastiness. There is never any underlayer of irony, complexity, nuance, or depth. It is all surface. Some Americans might see this as refreshingly upfront. Well, we do not. We see it as having no inner world, no soul. And in Britain, we traditionally side with David, not Goliath. All our heroes are plucky underdogs. Robin Hood, Dick Whittington, Oliver Twist. Donald Trump is neither plucky nor an underdog. He is the exact opposite of that. He is not even a spoiled rich boy or a greedy fat cat. He is more a fat white slug, a Jabba the Hutt of privilege. And worse, he is that most unforgivable of all things to the British, a bully. That is, story 22, that is a relief. Could you imagine what they would have learned if he took an active role in their education? Story 23. My husband spent years educating one of those kids. So did a bunch of our friends. Elon would not know that though, because he knows nothing about his children. For this and a million other reasons, I am very frustrated with him. Story 24. They probably learned their dad is a neglectful individual. Then again, Vivian didn't need the internet to figure that out. Story 25. What do you think they learned? That Elon Musk is a subhuman individual and deserves to be treated as such. If so, the YouTube algorithm certainly identified that accurately. Story 26. Hopefully, they saw how censorship can influence and direct public opinion towards or away from an issue. Reddit, YouTube, Facebook, and even 4chan are nothing like they were 10 years ago. Every media outlet of any kind participates in the propagation of propaganda. Social media has become a sweet indulgence, a treat for the mind that drives users to seek more. This craving for sweetness seeps into real-life behavior. I like to think his children can see the effects of this and realize that the opinions they hold may not be opinions that originated from themselves. This system has been operating for longer than his children have been alive. The illusions created may be the only things they have ever known. This is true for all of us. Story 27. How to be rude and socially unacceptable. It is about the Beavis and Butthead generation and the lack of respect for anyone or anything. At least Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers taught decent values. Story 28. Hopefully they all learned this. Story 29. Questioning anything is beta male behavior, and the only way to navigate life is to be the ultimate cutthroat alpha. The only way you can achieve that is by buying my cryptocurrency and placing exorbitant sports event bets with me. Story 30. That if a partner sneezes incorrectly, there may be a divorce. However, being restrained and burned with cigarettes is also considered normal. Story 31. In fairness, it is not a wildly out-of-this-world statement. I basically earned my engineering degree from YouTube. Teachers only have so much lecture time. Story 32. Boycott Tesla. General economic blackout February 28th. Do not buy anything, stock up early. Story 33. Boycott Tesla. General economic blackout February 28th. Do not buy anything, stock up early. Story 34. How to rot their brains. But still more than they will ever learn from their liquid-brained moron of a father. Story 35. A few of these kids are going to grow up and do interviews or write books, and it is going to be interesting. Elon will be old and incontinent by then, so he will escape any consequences as usual. Story 36. In the span of a week, I have seen 2 of this guy's children's mothers try to contact him publicly on X as a last resort, because they have been unable to reach him to discuss his own children. I am not convinced he has been observing any of them other than the one he allegedly uses as a human shield. Story 37. There is a lot of truth to this. The best education is happening outside the classroom. You do not learn how to invest in school. You do not learn how to run a business. You do not learn how to strategize. Finally, you do not get any education on how to actually run a project. Every major accomplishment is from education outside of school. Story 38. It is absolutely ridiculous that he expects everyone to have children, yet he has no idea how to be a father. He is the chief executive officer of 3 companies and pretending to be the president, so when does he have time to be a dad? He pays money for other people to raise his kids, and then he wonders why they grow up to dislike him and go no contact with him. Story 39. In my child's case, they learned how to build a personal computer, replace iPhone screens, replace thermal paste on a PlayStation 4, and sideload unauthorized games onto old systems. Story 40. It is absolutely unreasonable that he expects everyone to have children, yet he has no clue how to be a father. He is the chief executive officer of 3 companies and pretending to be president, so when does he have time to be a dad? He pays money for other people to raise his kids, and then he wonders why they grow up to hate him and go no contact with him. Story 41. I do not think he means that literally. Unless your children are homeschooled with strict provisions for screen time, then they will indeed be educated on these platforms. It is what they will pay attention to by their own choosing, and as such will retain that information more readily. Story 42. Whatever. I am over this individual. I just keep thinking to myself that it is hilarious that he has probably never had a real friend. Such a foolish person. Story 43. When you are wrong about something, never admit it. Instead, you double down, triple down, and start insulting the people who are saying that you are wrong. If you keep talking back long enough to make the other stop responding, you have won the argument. Story 44. He has 13 children by 4 different mothers. He is involved in the operation of multiple businesses, is supposedly a professional gamer, and of course has now taken up undermining the American government as a side hustle. All of this is to say, I question how much of the education of his children he has actually observed. Story 45. Joe Rogan is the smartest man on earth other than Dad. Disney creates content that promotes progressive values to influence us all, and women should have the freedom to choose their paths. Story 46. Considering how misbehaved his child was very publicly, my guess is their manners came from the internet for sure. Story 47. He has the means to have a dedicated staff take care of his children for him. Why are they tablet time babies? Story 48. If Elon's kids were mostly educated by Reddit, they would most likely hate their father. I follow Vivian on TikTok, and she is not afraid to critique her dad. I figure a good chunk of his kids will wind up resenting him anyway because he is not exactly father of the year. If little Kevlar ever gets an account, he is going to be upset when he finds out that daddy was using him as a human shield. Story 49. Sounds like a recommendation to all Americans to start dumbing down their children. While in reality, his children have all the money they need for either education or to buy themselves into a wealthy life in many ways, unless he does not share any of his money. Story 50. I learned that if I sneeze and my partner doesn't say, "Bless you," then my partner is an emotionally and psychologically abusive individual who is a drain on my happiness. Therefore, I should leave them immediately before I end up dead in the gutter. Not the asshole. Story 51. Sounds like he either has poor students, sent them to a bad school, or he has no clue what is going on with his children. My schools covered so many important topics throughout high school. Story 52. My kids were mostly educated by YouTube and Reddit, he said, as if implying that it was anyone else's fault but his. Story 53. As a formerly homeschooled kid myself, Elon, your children are going to be backfilling their missing education for decades. Story 54. It sounds like they probably learned that Elon is a bad father. Especially the one he deliberately refers to by a name that is not their own. Story 55. It is incredible how, literally every day, people are obsessed with this man. It is not healthy. Thank you in advance for your downvote for speaking the truth. Enjoy doom scrolling for the next 7 hours. Story 56. Not sure what they learned exactly, but the context chaining, variance in quality, and the unstructured nature of autoplay significantly lower knowledge retention and utilization. Education and content are not the same thing. In the rare event that education did take place, it would have been tarnished by the algorithm. Fear and emotion-based. Story 57. It boggles my mind that the richest man in the world would not send his kids to the best private schools money can buy, such as Cranbrook and International Baccalaureate Academies. I mean, this is the smallest thing he could do as an absentee father. For a guy who seems to be obsessed with having a legacy, he is doing an absolute poor job of building it. There is nothing I would not do for my kids, and this individual cannot even write a check for a fraction of his wealth for them to receive a K-12 education. Story 58. I think that is a lie, and Elon is a master of that. He always tries to undermine formal education. Wait, is the system flawed? Yes, it may be like every other system, but there are many positive effects that come from formal education as well. There are many college dropouts who are successful, but there are also many successful people who have adapted to the education system. And trust me, you may not be very famous, but each person's contribution is valuable to society. Story 59. Hate, violence, and pornography. Plus, their little brains did not develop correctly, all addicted to technology, and they do not have nearly as many brain wrinkles as they should. Story 60. The second someone gains a modicum of power, looking at you moderators, they become unbearable, petty individuals. Story 61. These people hate more than they love. The thing about critics is that they hate themselves, so why would you value their opinion? This is what Reddit taught me. Story 62. Elon Musk aside, my toddler has learned so much from YouTube. I had stomach pains, and he touched the exact spot and said, "Daddy's gallbladder hurts." Yep, it was a gallstone. He has been diagnosed with autism. He may be socially different, but he is going to be an encyclopedia. Story 63. They for sure end the first introductory paragraph of every paper they write with a sentence that contains the phrase "without further ado." Story 64. Musk has 13 children that we know of across multiple mothers. To completely denounce all his children at once by trivializing their condition, which is being his children, indicates that he is the common factor and the real problem. 13 kids who hate him cannot all be at fault. Story 65. They learned the system is broken. The system is rigged, and ultimately, if you do not find a way to break out of it, it will slowly kill you. Between unhealthy, harmful foods, fluids, and artificial nutrients, the system is meant to destroy us. Story 66. I actually do learn a lot from social media. I can target what I want to learn, and I like that a lot. Story 67. I think that is common these days. I have 3 children with ages ranging from 16 to 10, 6 nieces and nephews, and of course all the children's friends and all the friends' children. All of them seem to have poor educations, even the advanced placement and honors ones, but they all know the latest slang, memes, and celebrity news. Story 68. I learned that we need to stop asking these leading questions on AskReddit because they lend themselves to the same sorts of answers. Story 69. They learned wrong. I say this as someone raised by the internet. I ended up having my room be the basement as a kid by choice. I slept on a couch and had no bedroom. I just wanted my computers. I was born in 1993 in a small town. I was just ahead of the curve technologically. The current generation's learning from the internet is poor as they have so much more information to sort through. It's the difference between only nerds knowing how to use the internet and the idea that you don't even have to try to use the internet. I work in information technology, and the amount of absolutely wrong information surrounding it is astounding. It's wrong so often. Horrifying. On the bright side, I recently learned how to solder copper water pipes, known as sweating, which drives me nuts. The majority of it is correct, just missing some information. So it's not all bad. Story 70. He does not seek the four. His children do not seek for. He does not know what it means to be well educated. For his blinders take over. Story 71. If you have any issue with anyone, you are automatically the victim, and you should make a detailed post about it on a discussion forum and take the most extreme advice offered by individuals who do not understand that there can be nuance in interpersonal relationships. If your spouse did not want to receive divorce papers in the middle of their father's funeral, they should not have yelled at you for pushing him down that flight of stairs. Story 72. That any observation by Musk is worthless. He doesn't even know how to spell his kids' names. Story 73. I honestly learned a lot from YouTube. I am not a native English speaker. Most of my English comes from learning on YouTube. I used to watch game walkthroughs. Story 74. Plenty of information but no social skills or fine motor skills. As a teacher, I am seeing the fallout from screens. Children have little to no hand strength and have difficulty with tape and scissors. Never mind something more complex. Story 75. How to manage a billionaire dad's Twitter addiction while mastering meme diplomacy. Congratulations, the future is chaotic neutral. Story 76. He is so sadly pathetic. It is sad to watch him and also to see the slavering fans he still has in Tesla. Sud. Story 77. Mostly a lot of entitlement, self-pity, envy, and resentment. They learned that nothing is ever their fault and that they are helpless, agentless victims who deserve to have everyone else in the entire world change to suit them. Story 78. I wonder if they learned geography from Reddit memes or just short attention span YouTube shorts that have the most unrealistic ideas. Story 79. I am not a big fan of Elon Musk, but being a poor father may have been a major reason why he was considered a bad parent. Autistic individuals often do not process emotions or communicate well. The best hope is for the mother to bridge that communication issue. However, after looking at his wife, I must say, this person's taste in partners is surprising. Amber Heard? It is a challenge with this individual, and perhaps he should step back from politics and government as soon as possible. Story 80. They are learning from sites that base what they show you around algorithms that are informed by the activity of the user. This will make it heavily addictive, especially for children. They will learn from individuals who promote very biased ideas, and they may learn to resent their fathers on online platforms. One day, on social media, they can find inappropriate content and learn the meanings of sexual terms online, which is not a healthy way to learn about sex. They will be raised in an environment of addiction that will be hard to break due to their young age. I feel bad for these children because they do not deserve this, and their parents do not deserve them. Story 81. I was wondering, where are all the Elon Musk cancer centers? Where are all the Elon Musk hospital wings? Where are all the Elon Musk food banks? Where are all the Elon Musk educational grants and scholarships? What disease eradication efforts does Elon Musk support? How does Elon Musk use his vast wealth to help eradicate poverty? How does Elon Musk use his vast wealth to help eradicate hunger? How does Elon Musk use his vast wealth to improve access to healthcare? Does Elon Musk have any philanthropic interests beyond his own wealth and security? Where are all the testimonies and stories of Elon Musk's generosity and kindness to others? Story 82. I'm guessing he opted in for that since parents raising their own children is too big of an ask for him. I do not want to raise children myself either, so I did not have any. That is called being smart. Children absolutely notice irresponsible parents. Story 83. If they are mostly trained on Reddit, I would be amazed if they are not left-wing cultists. YouTube should provide them with the vocabulary needed to learn all the interesting curse words. Story 84. It is hilarious how, after all of the failures by the team at Blue Light Media over the past couple of years, they have jumped from Donald Trump to Elon Musk, a guy who has accomplished more during about 10% of his time sitting on the toilet than all of the media members who constantly trash him have in their entire lives. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.